Good morning everyone. Kapwa ko Filipino, magbasa na tayo ng ating sariling history book. Mabilis ang basa lang to guys at late na ako. History of the Filipino People by Agoncillo and Guerrero. Today is 09 March 2023. History of the Filipino People, Part 6. The Third Republic. Topic number 25, the Hukbalahap Movement. Nandito tayo sa paragraph, The Rise of Socialism and Communism. Basa. The rise of socialism and communism, any movement that has its roots in the social and economic inequalities, particularly in oppression and fraudulent practices on the part of those in power, always finds a leader or misleader. The freedoms that the United States brought to the Philippines led to a political consciousness which seeped through the minds of the peasants and workers. Labor and peasant leaders appeared and united the unwieldy peasants and laborers into unions. The awakening of the exploited class came during the first decade of American rule, when labor and peasant unions sprouted overnight. In the awakening, Tagalog nobles played a significant part. Lope K. Santos, Banaag at Sikat, Race and Sunrise. First published serially in the nationalistic Muling Pagsilang, and in 1906 published in book form, brought the socialist tenets before the view of the laborers and the peasants. This was followed later by Faustino Aguilar's Busabos ng Palad, Slave of Faith, 1907, and Nangalunod sa Katihan, Drawn in the Beach, 1911, which described the poor peasants under rapacious landlords. In 1936, Servando de Los Angeles, in the wake of labor strikes and the peasant movement, published his novel, Ang Huling Timawa, The Last Serf, which was obviously an anti-landlord work. These various influences the freedom's political consciousness, and the role of the socialistic nobles led to a more aggressive movement of the lower class. In 1922, the peasants banded themselves into the Confederation, the Aparceros. Ulitin ko lang guys ha. These various influences, the freedoms, political consciousness, and the role of the socialistic nobles led to a more aggressive movement of the lower class. In 1922, the peasants banded themselves into the Confederation, the Aparceros, Obreros, Agricolas, the Filipinas. Philippine Confederation of Tenants and Agricultural Workers. Ano to guys, may pagka-Espanyol to. Confederacion de Aparceros e Obreros Agricolas de Pilipinas. Ang hirap bigkasin eh. Philippine Confederation of Tenants and Agricultural Workers. Under the leadership of Jacinto Manahan, 2 years later, it was renamed Katipunang, Pambansa ng mga Magbubukid sa Pilipinas, National Peasants Union of the Philippines. This union and the Philippine Labor Congress became the most powerful weapons of the lower class in their fight for reforms beneficial to their class. In 1928, representatives of the Philippine Labor Congress attended a trade conference in Canton, China, which was sponsored by the communists. Upon the return, they founded the Labor Party. In the same year, the Philippine Labor Congress affiliated itself with the Red International Organization of Labor Unions, thereby making the PLC a communist union. The following year, 1929, the conservative and the communist leaders of the PLC disagreed on matters of policy, and Crisanto Evangelista, a communist, founded his Katipunang ng mga anak pawis ng Pilipinas, Congress of Philippine Working Men, while the other leaders referred to as Cristobal and Antonio Padilla remained with the PLC. Under the leadership of Evangelista and Manahan, the Partido Comunista, Communist Party, was founded in 1930. The avowed purposes of the new party were to work for the improvement of the living and working conditions of the workers and peasants, the overthrow of the American colonial government, and the establishment of an independent Philippines, patterned after Soviet Russia, and to unite all workers. At first, the communists were allowed to work unhampered, but in 1932, the Supreme Court declared the Communist Party an illegal association. Though outlawed, the Communist Party worked secretly among the peasants and laborers, particularly of Central Luzon. In 1929, Pedro Abad Santos, a wealthy and cultured landlord of Pampanga, founded the Socialist Party. The following year, he founded the Agumanting Maldang Talapagubra Workers and Peasants Union, or more simply AMT. Both the Socialist Party and the AMT were aspects of the same movement, whose purpose was to secure better conditions and increased pay for the workers and peasants. The Socialist Party acted as the political arm of the Union. The Socialist Party did not become widespread and popular until after 1932. It was not, however, outlawed, for it did not advocate the overthrow of the existing government, but while the Communist Party members, having been outlawed, remained in the underground, the Socialists worked openly for important reforms. In 1938, when the Communist leaders who were imprisoned in 1932 were pardoned, the two parties, the Communist and the Socialist, merged. Thus, the peasants and workers of Central Luzon, while not actually communist, were nevertheless members of an organization whose leaders were avowed communists. This affiliation of the peasants and workers of Central Luzon with the communist organization made them the most politically sophisticated working class in the Philippines. The founding of the Hukbalahap. The socialist communist orientation of the Central Luzon peasants led to a more militant peasant and labor movement. The years immediately preceding the outbreak of the war in the Pacific may be described as critical, for it was during that period that numerous strikes were recorded. It was also the same period that saw the murder of the millionaire Hacendero of Pampanga, Jose de Leon Sr., a bloody affair that resulted from workers' discontent. Then war came to the Philippines on December 8, 1941. The retreat of the USAFIT to Bataan and the eventual collapse of Filipino-American arms was followed by a short period of confusion on the municipal level. Instinctively, the peasants of Pampanga reacted sharply by forming home guards for their protection and security. The realities of war imposed a certain degree of discipline on the peasants. The necessity for a unified movement that would, on the one hand, keep the morale of the people at the highest level, and on the other face, the Japanese enemy, led to a meeting of peasant leaders early in February 1942. The meeting, held at the Barrio of Bakwit, Cabiao, Nueva Ecija, was attended by Luis Tarok, Juan Pileo, Casto Alejandrino, Mateo del Castillo, F. Sampang, Jose de Leon, Lino Dizon. Itong Jose de Leon, ito ba yung namatay na Hacendero? Yun nga, Hacendero, ito si Jose de Leon. Lino Dizon, Eusebio Aquino, and Mariana Franco. Ang bilis ko makatanda, ng pangalan. The conference decided upon united front tactics, that is to say, the winning over to their movement of the moderate landlords and the middle class, with the peasants and workers leading and directing the movement. Anti-Japanese above all became the battle cry of the peasant underground movement. The peasant organization were then dissolved in order to carry out their main policy, namely to work for a free and democratic Philippines. To carry out this policy, the peasant leaders adopted a three-point platform: economic, political, and military. The economic phase of the peasant underground struggle consisted in the development of all means of providing the people with sustenance, and at the same time to sabotage Japanese efforts to loot the country. The political base consisted in discrediting the puppet regime and in destroying its influence. The military aim was to harass the Japanese. Immediately thereafter, the peasants began collecting all sorts of arms in preparation for a vast resistance movement. With the policies and principles laid down, the peasant leaders made a clearing in the forest that joined the provinces of Tarlac, Pampanga, and Nueva Ecija on March 29, 1942. A table stood in the clearing, and before it were gathered all units of the peasant resistance movement. For 1 week, the leaders discussed common problems. When the name of the vast organization came up for discussion, the men unanimously agreed to call it Hukbo ng Bayan Laban sa Hapon, or Hukbalahap for short. There were speeches all directed against the Japanese and the Filipino collaborators in the government. After the meeting, a military committee was formed with the following as members: Tarok, Banal, Bernardo Poblete, Castro Alejandrino, and Felipe Colala, Dayang-Dayang, and Amazon, whose unit has recently killed several Japanese soldiers. Tarok was chosen chairman of the committee, with Alejandrino as second in command. Thus, the birth of the Hukbalahap. Bukas na itong guys. The Hukbalahap sovereignty for March 10. Ilang araw na lang. Sana hindi ko ito matatapos bago umuwi ng Pilipinas. Ito yung marami-rami pa. March 10, 2023. Ilang araw lang guys. Nasa Pinas na tayo. Bye everyone. God bless.